Am I the idiot for telling my parents to get divorced in the middle of an airport? The past 48 hours were death by 1,000 cuts. Jesus Christ. My family and I-23F went to Italy this past week for a vacation. It was my parents, my 17-year-old sister, my aunt, and 27-year-old cousin. It was a mostly good time, pretty hot out, but the art was cool and I was excited about that. Our flight home was 3 connecting flights, Venice to Montreal, Montreal to Toronto, and Toronto to my home city. That's a lot. It was a 30-hour day. My aunt and cousin got on a different flight out of Venice since they both live further away. My parents have hated each other since I was 11. They almost got divorced when I was 13, but changed their minds, and will never let me forget that. Staying together for the kids meant that I'm the reason they're so miserable now. They sure do love to tell me that. Anyways. Our flight delays, we have to sprint through Montreal, customs takes forever and my parents suck at technology. My dad snapped at my mom snapped back, my dad started flirting with the flight attendant and some other lady in the airport. My mom shut down and almost didn't get on the flight home, and they had been screaming loudly at each other for everyone in the Toronto airport to hear. It was embarrassing. I've been in and out of therapy for over a decade now dealing with their bullies hit because they won't go, and I end up being the collateral every time they would fight in front of me. So every day my entire childhood. But while we were waiting to board, my dad starts chatting up some lady in front of my mom, who texts me this. If your boyfriend treats you badly, you can break up. I have no option like that. Dad is now enjoying his second conversation with a second single woman since we left Italy, and hasn't had one polite conversation with me. Just demeaning ones. I have no options like you did. So I snapped, and yelled at them both, stop acting like children. This is not appropriate to do in front of me and my sister. Either go to therapy or get fucking divorced. I'm tired of being your collateral every time you are at each other's throats. There's more really shitty things that they said to each other that I can detail in comments if y'all want. But they both laid into me for embarrassing them. As if they weren't fully doing it to themselves. I was on hour 30 of no sleep, I was hungry, and I was about to get on my 3rd fucking flight of the night. I don't live with them, I have my own place, but for the past year anytime they do this shit I just up and leave. Unfortunately not possible in an airplane. They've both been laying into me for embarrassing/disrespecting them since the incident and maybe they need to get embarrassed in an airport. This shit can't be normal. But maybe I'm playing victim like my mom says. I don't know. ETA, update, mom called. She very much expected me to apologize for airing out her dirty laundry. I told her I was just calling them out for embarrassing me. And told her a lot of the things you guys said. That this isn't the 1950s, and seeing them hurt each other hurts me. It went nowhere unfortunately. She went on and on about how I'm a child and should never speak to my parents in this way. I reminded her. I'm 23, 24 in a month. Not a child. I fully support myself. She doesn't care. It's like in her mind I'm fully subject to all of her wants and needs, just because she gave birth to me. Comment 1. Tell them it's not 1950 anymore, and nobody cares if they get divorced. It's no longer a stigma, and they are both not doing anybody any favors by staying together. If anything, they are driving their children into therapy. You say you have a sister, how old is she? If she is over 18, tell them it's time for the divorce that absolutely everyone wants. There are no more children to hold them back. They no longer have the children as an excuse. Also go low to no contact until they are divorced. Their misery isn't the children's fault and it's time they stop holding you responsible. Comment 2. Gotta disagree. This is a terrible plan because the end result will almost certainly be someone with little or no training in any form of counseling, pressuring them to stay married because God hates divorce. And most of the pressure will be applied to mom, telling her to just shut up and pray harder no matter what. Drinking? Cheating? Punching the crap out of you? That's Satan attacking your husband in marriage, and it's up to you to be a prayer warrior and martyr and bring your husband around by your noble, silent, subservient example of Christian forbearance. Seriously, this has been their playbook for decades at this point. No advice is better than demonstrably harmful and incorrect advice. This couple needs a divorce or professional help. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my stepdaughter her friend's mom is the reason her dad and I are divorcing? Jack and I are getting divorced after 2 years of marriage. Jack has 2 children, but this concerns his daughter, Ella, 15F. The day Jack told me he wanted a divorce, we told the children after school. Ella was upset when she found out we are divorcing and went to her room. She came down after tea when it was just me and her in the house. Jack and his son had gone out. She asked me why her dad and I were getting divorced and wanted to know if it was because of her. Ella has struggled with an ED, and while it had caused some strain because we couldn't agree on how to help Ella, it is not the reason. I told Ella that she and her brother are not the reason for the divorce, but that her best friends, Imogen 15F, Mom, Sophie 34F, is. Sophie and Jack had an affair when she was 19. When the affair was exposed, Sophie's life basically imploded while Jack's pretty much remained the same. Just to state, Imogen is not Jack's daughter. They are friends now, but after the affair they would just be polite in the street and became friendlier over the years as the girls became close friends at school. I told Ella that Jack's continued friendship with Sophie and the running to her for advice is why we are getting divorced. Ella asked if Jack was having an affair with Sophie. I told her that Jack was denying having an affair with Sophie again, but I suspected it. She asked what I meant by again, so I told her that Sophie and Jack had an affair when Jack was married to her mom. Ella has not been speaking to Jack since our conversation. She has also lashed out at Imogen, telling her that her mom is a whore and is the reason her family is falling apart. They got into a physical fight at school, which resulted in both Jack and Sophie getting called in to talk about it. In the meeting, Ella told them everything I had told her the night before and blamed Sophie for ruining her family again. Jack told her that Sophie isn't the reason. Jack told Ella the reason for the divorce is because he no longer trusted me because of a mistake I had made which had sent us to therapy. Months of therapy weren't able to repair his trust in me. After Jack and Ella came home, she is now not talking to me either. Jack is furious that I said anything to Ella and that I ruined Ella's friendship with Imogen. Jack snapped that it was not my place to say anything to Ella. He was angry that I was still stuck on his friendship with Sophie, and continues to maintain nothing is going on. He told me that Imogen told Sophie in the meeting that she wants to move to a new school, where no one knows her mom is a whore, and that was my fault. Ella asked me for a reason and I told her, I do believe Sophie is the true reason as the relationship between them is weird. Update, this blew up more than I thought it would. Both Ella and her brother were aware of the kiss. They were there when Jack was told. I referred to it as a mistake as that is what Jack refers to it as. He has said that he didn't consider the kiss to be cheating because I was drunk. I have moved out of the house since I made this post, and I am now staying with my sister until I find a place of my own. At the weekend, Ella reached out to Imogen and apologized for lashing out at her at school. They look like they've made up as Ella stayed at Imogen's over the weekend. Before she left, I apologized to Ella and told her that I shouldn't have dragged her into this. Ella told me that she would never forgive me, especially for damaging her friendship with Imogen, and is glad that her dad is divorcing me. I offered to pay for the girls to do something together, but Ella refused, saying she didn't want to take Mike to dirty money. I also apologized to Jack, who told me that it was Sophie who needed the apology, not him, as it was her life I had tried to ruin without a shred of evidence. I tried telling him that I just didn't believe that he and Sophie weren't having an affair, and he snapped, telling me that there is nothing going on with Sophie, and she had actually just started seeing someone. He found out about this because she went to him for advice, as he is the only person she knows who has also lost a spouse and dated again. He then told me that he wanted me to move out as Ella had told him that she wasn't going to return home while I was still here. So, yeah, I've destroyed my relationship with Jack and his children because I was insecure. It's my own doing. Comment 1. What did Ella, a 15-year-old girl, do to you that you would blow up her relationship with her father and her best friend during a difficult time in her life? The girl is going through enough with her ED. Why would you cut off two of her main support lifelines when she's already struggling as it is and likely to need more support in the future? Your marriage issues are your problems. Keep them to yourself or tell your besties. It's not appropriate to overshare adult drama with a 15-year-old child who is not your own over tea. And it wasn't the truth, was it? You conveniently left out your own a mistake, which is the actual reason for the divorce. So what you did was distort the narrative into a damaging lie, feed it to a child who trusted you, and watch her world burn. You blew that girl's life up for no reason other than your own bitterness. She got into a fight at school, and now her former best friend wants to leave the school completely. Those poor girls, both of them. To have their lives torn apart by you because you can't admit that you're the one who ended your own marriage. You're a real piece of work to go after kids like that. Comment 2. What did you think was going to happen? That now that Ella is older she might have some say in custody court and you see a light at never having to deal with Jack again? Do you know how damaging that was to Ella? Look, Jack is still always going to be her dad. There are reasons why most parents stop with "it wasn't your fault. It was other stuff between us that we couldn't work out." What you did causes emotional damage. It's a nuclear option only to be used to counter something your ex is saying that is destroying your relationship with your child, and then only with the assistance of a therapist to handle it correctly. You give no indication that Jack was telling Ella anything until you backed him into a corner, not that he handled it great either. And if you're upset about Ella's friendship with Imogen necessitating her having contact with Sophie, talk to your own therapist about how to handle it. Ella can't lash out at you or her dad. She needs you and can't legally extract herself from you. So you caused a situation where the only thing she could do to vent her pain was destroy Imogen. Even if Jack was actually sleeping with Sophie until the end, Imogen didn't deserve that. You owe that girl an apology.